Well, Greg O'Keefe, Roberto Martinez's first season is well and truly over now at Everton. It's fair to say the man's been a revelation.
He really has. I think, if you think back to last August, when he was in situation, obviously he took over and there was a degree of trepidation among some fans because 11 years with the same previous manager and you get used to the way David Moyes did things, you get used to the way his teams played, even get used to the way he operates in the transfer market. And then someone new comes in, especially with a mixed pedigree in the short term before his appointment. Wigan had obviously been FA Cup winners but gone down. And there's an element of Everton fans who thought, is it going to be an improvement? Are we going to have a better manager in the following season? Or were we going to have to make do with a transitional season whereby the best case might have been a top half finish?
Well,
a lot of clubs.
The previous man had the transitional phase, didn't he? At his new club, Manchester United.
Absolutely, seemed to get that out of the way for us. And really, the interesting thing was there was very little in terms of unrest at Everton. And that's despite them playing a completely different style of football, which was so far removed from the way Moyes had them playing. And I think it's a testament to Martinez and the way he clearly communicated what he wanted, and to the players for picking it up.
Because this is what people have said. There's a boldness about Everton, isn't there?
Yeah.
They're no longer the sort of small club who thinks we'll tiptoe around the big boys, we'll be careful, we'll nick a goal and then get 10 men behind the ball. You go out there and they play to win, unashamedly.
That's right. I think one of Martinez's big mantras has been he wants Everton to go toe-to-toe and eye-to-eye with anyone. And I've heard him several times now talk about how he felt he had to get over a culture of fear, really, among some of the more experienced players. And I don't mean fear as in they're physically scared of going and facing the top clubs. I mean what they would think is that it'd be a bit of a containment, like you just said. They'd go set up to maybe hit on someone on the break and then get 9 men behind the ball, narrow, 2 banks of 4 maybe, and just defend. Well, Martinez's teams are never going to play like that. They're going to go and try and concentrate on themselves, play their football and try and attack anyone. They've done it at Stamford Bridge, they did it at White Hart Lane, they did it successfully at Old Trafford for the first time in 21 years, and they had a really good go at the Emirates and came away with a creditable draw, which many people said was one of the best away displays at the Emirates.
And he's a canny operator as well, Roberto Martinez, isn't he? He's used the loan system to absolute perfection. Romelu Lukaku and Gareth Barry have been brilliant for Everton.
Yeah, absolutely superb. I mean, there's been in recent weeks a little bit of kind of sniping from the sidelines about Everton's use of the loan market, but I think to a degree that's jealous outsiders, because any manager, I'm sure, outside of the really big budgets would be delighted to have had such success using the loan market, like you say. Gerard Deulofeu, in fits and bursts he's performed, but when he has performed, he's won games almost single-handedly. Undoubtedly one of Barcelona's most exciting youngsters. They had him for a season, and that's benefited us as much as it has him. You mentioned Lukaku, who's been a massive player, 16 goals for Everton, all before the age of 21. He only turned 21 yesterday, so he's been brilliant. And then of course Gareth Barry, who's I think the one that's really formed that partnership with James McCarthy, that's been at the very heart of everything Everton have done well this season. And it'd be, of course, the flip side is the wrenches that you might lose these players. And then there's a degree of planning and a degree of hard work that Martinez has to go into to make sure that doesn't symbolise a step backwards. These partnerships, these dynamic players like Lukaku and Deulofeu, they've got to be replaced, or maybe in the case of Lukaku and Barry, persuaded to hang around for another season.
And of course we've got the World Cup coming up. Everton will be well represented there. England's back four, first choice back four, is half of Everton's back four, isn't it? Baines and Jagielka.
That's right. It's remarkable. I was just speaking to Dave Prentice, the Deputy Sports Editor, yesterday, and he was mentioning how I think prior to this, Everton had only ever sent 1 player to a World Cup in England colours, and now they've got, obviously, like you say, you've got half the back four. They've got Barkley, one of the most exciting young talents in the English game, and possibly, if Phil Jones can't prove his match fitness by the 2nd of June, even John Stones at 19. So it is remarkable, and it's just testament to how well Martinez has done. I have to say, David Moyes signed Stones, and David Moyes did look at Ross Barkley, but the big difference is Martinez had the courage of his convictions to play them, to give them significant game time, and that's why they've flourished, and that's helped them massively and importantly, it's helped Everton as well.
Yeah, and Roberto will be going out to Brazil, of course. He's
He will.
working as a pundit. It's going to be a great shop window, isn't it, for world football?
He loves it. He'll be there. Yeah, and it is, of course. I mean, apart from his skills as a pundit, and he's very articulate and very sort of watchable on telly. He analyses games well, but he'll be there with a remit to scout for Everton. He'll probably know most of the players anyway. Knowing him, his scouting network is vast, and he's so immersed in it that he will tell you, that Colombia's third choice left back or whatever. But he'll be there, and he'll be looking at players, and I think interestingly he's going to look at players who maybe it's felt that they haven't had the best World Cup, but he'll know all about them. He'll know how their form leading up to the tournament, and he'll know that might mean that they're available for a knockdown price. Conversely, what World Cups do to players who have a good World Cup inflates the value, and that's usually what Everton are priced out of the market. But Martinez is a bit more savvy than that, so he'll be out there definitely looking for future blues.